lead off the comment period with Jose Padin. We are going to be timing, and I think given the amount of time that we have running, we can give people 4 minutes, maybe 5, if it seems appropriate. So we'll be timing it, but Jose, why don't you come forward and we'll take thoughts.
Good morning, Vice Chair Patrick and Board Trustees and colleagues. Then new board, the new composition, new members, and new board. My name is Jose Padin. I'm a faculty member at Portland State University. I'm also president of PSU which is the union for our faculty and academic professionals. One of 2 strong faculty voices on campus. We speak to our faculty senate and to our faculty union. And I represent 1,300 colleagues, almost 90% of whom are full members. Being on the board is, those of you who've been here before, is not a purely ceremonial post. It's not a cakewalk. And it's because everyone on campus, students, faculty, staff, are well organized and care a lot about how this institution is run, and we're committed to the public mission of this institution. At the beginning of the year, as you're thinking about priorities, there's 4 things that I want to bring to your attention that we see as very, very important priorities to keep in mind. Issues that we need to tackle. Not surprisingly, a lot of them have to do with problems that are societal in scope, but they trickle down into the functioning of the university, and we can be different, but it requires a certain leadership and vision and so on. Those 4 items are disparities, priorities, and 2 types of corrupting influences from our relationship to entities, non-educational entities outside the university. We're seeing growing disparities in the academic community, not just here, but nationally, disparities between the top and the bottom. And whenever in any community there's growing disparities, what happens is a sense of shared fate, okay, is lost. Sense of trust is lost in the community, and we start having kind of divergent visions of what priorities ought to be. Without getting into any detail, we need to look at this. I think the faculty, my colleagues working through the faculty senate are raising the issue when they're trying to reinvent top leadership. But probably the provocative guiding question might be, how many administrators with salaries higher than the governor of California are required to run a public university? Something to examine. When we have significant distance between the top and the middle, or the top and the bottom, kind of our view of the institution starts diverging too, and our sense of priorities. So that gets me into the second issue that I'd like to bring to your attention as an agenda for the year. We have a set of stated priorities as an institution, and then we have kind of a record of where we put our resources that de facto spell out what the priorities are. Pattern of expenditures, and I don't mean the budget going forward, but looking backward where we put our money. We need to examine that carefully to see if where we're putting our resources aligns with what we think our priorities are. I don't think we necessarily evaluate that carefully enough. I looked at the record of the proposal for the 2020 budget coming from the Finance and Administration Committee, and there's not a rich discussion of priorities or comparing this to what the budget is. I think we need to look at those, and I think a guiding slogan might be here, to be a little bit provocative, is feed the core, chop the top, and just cut loose non-educational ancillaries. Okay. But in any event, engaging in a rich conversation there. The final issue is relationships with entities that are non-educational that can corrupt our core mission. In recent days, there's been some furor over the way in which one of the premier professional sports leagues in the United States is on its knees before the government of China because one of its employees exercised their free speech to support civil and political rights in Hong Kong. That's really telling that one has to compromise on those things. We have an unfinished business here at this university, Faculty Senate and PSU team, to bring up the issue of the relationship between Portland State University and the government of China and the Confucius Institute. We asked for transparency in the agreement between Portland State University and the government of China because the earlier agreement had not been publicly available and did not include protections for academic freedom that are essential for any entity in the university. We've been told that a new agreement would not be signed without those protections. But to this day, we really don't know. If there is a new agreement, we ask you, President Percy, and previously known as Steve to me, colleague, that we want to know what the content of the working agreement is with the government of China around the Confucius Institutes. The final issue or entity that we have a relationship with, an uneasy one, is on the subject that you just spoke, is with the institution of policing. And there's a lot of rich thinking around that at Portland State University, a lot of concern. I think there was a little disappointment in the announcement. I'm going to hold back judgment on the plan at this point. But I'll just say that one thing is the report to the boards of trustees, which necessarily needs to be short and succinct. The other is a conversation of accountability on campus, because there were a lot of questions raised about this move towards arming the campus police. Intelligent questions by our campus community. 70% approximately of our faculty opposed that. The objections were reasonable, and we had a contingent from the School of Social Work that asked really, really serious questions about that model. So I'm sure all of these members of the campus community would want to hear answers to those questions. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Follow-up questions? No? Okay, thanks so much.